is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another installment of Nebraska Huskers Live. Making sure I have the right background on there, spelled the correct way. But as y'all can see, I am back here with Brian. Wasn't able to make the Thursday night call-in show. Apologies about that. Going to that in just a little second here, but we got Justin in chat. Go Big Red. What's up, Justin? Appreciate you joining in. Swill Myth, appreciate you hopping in here at Go Big Red. We're going to go through some stuff, touch on some tight end stuff. We're going to touch on a few other things. Been a long week/weekend for me. I'm catching up on everything. As if y'all saw the last episode, you heard my dog passed away, so that's kind of what I've been dealing with. Rest in peace, lady. I got her little pillow right here, so that way she's always in here checking out the stream, watching with us. So appreciate Brian, you holding that down for us. Appreciate everybody else for understanding. So, Brian, how's everything going with you, brother?
I survived the big storms in Kansas last night. That was one hell of a storm that came through. We haven't had one like that in a long time. So,
what was it?
My sump pump is in overdrive today.
Was it tornadoes or like what?
There was a risk of tornadoes pretty much the entire day for my area, but we don't get a lot of tornadoes or any really in Kansas City just because it's a big city. So
yeah,
we got about 80-mile-an-hour winds. We're getting about an inch of rain an hour for like the duration of from 4 o'clock to like 6 o'clock. And then again at like 10 o'clock to like midnight. And then I woke up at like 3 a.m. to loud cracks of thunder. And I mean, I love storms, so I don't mind it. It just sucks when I'm driving in it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the worst part. When you're home relaxing, it's great.
Yeah.
But when you're out and about, not the best, especially tornadoes. Do tornadoes not hit big cities? Do they not want to hit Kansas City?
I mean, one hit St. Louis the day before.
It's just rare.
And they had no warning. Yeah, I think there's a science behind it, but it's more common than kind of think. It's just Kansas City. It just, for some reason, it's like a big like dome or something over Kansas City, where storm will be huge coming into the city, and then it just falls apart, and then it rebuilds after it gets to the other side of the state line.
The NFL built that. They're trying to protect Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
we all know the truth. They built a bubble around Kansas City so they can protect them. It's crazy. Mike, what's going on, man? I appreciate you hopping in here. Go Big Red. Hello, all. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of kind of, I guess we'll jump right into the tight end side of things. I got a few other things that we're going to talk about, and then we'll just kind of open it up to the chat. Again, not a lot going on a ton this week. We're going to talk to some recruiting things, mainly the tight end position. But let's go ahead and dive into that tight end position now and kind of give us an update there and kind of our the pain we're having in that position room in terms of recruiting.
Yeah, I always try to specify in any recruiting talk I do or any video that recruiting is so fluid, and people hate that answer, but like it's 100% true. And that was very evident this week. Camden Jensen commits to UCLA out of nowhere. Yep. I mean, I knew he was considering UCLA. I didn't even think they were a top school. I really thought it was going to be Nebraska or Oklahoma potentially. And UCLA is forking out a ton of money that they don't have right now with NIL. So you're seeing their recruitment kind of speed up. It's, Rex Waterman's a guy too on the offensive line that just took a visit to UCLA that, they're kind of making a move with him right now. Unfortunately for Nebraska, the tight end room, like in my notes, it says Nebraska tight end recruiting is an absolute mess. And there's 1.4 million reasons why. And everyone knows what those 1.4 million reasons are. But like Camden Jensen, Nebraska's been recruiting for 2 years. And I don't want to use the word spurns, but like he didn't even come in for his official visit now. Mm-hmm. Luke Sorensen, who Nebraska was like a heavy favorite for a month ago or even 3 weeks ago. I don't even know if he's going to visit Nebraska right now. Notre Dame just offered. USC is surging. Penn State, is probably a favorite right now. Lincoln Watkins, same thing. Nebraska was on him before a lot of the bigger schools. And then Florida offers in April. Now they're surging. I don't think Nebraska with Lincoln Watkins right now is a top 2 school or maybe even a top 3. And then the biggest disappointment is Matt Ludwig. He committed to Michigan, and we didn't mention his name a lot, and there's a reason why. Nebraska hardly recruited him since they offered him last year. Despite interest from him to go to Nebraska, despite the family ties, because his cousin is a player on the team, it's Vince Genatone. He committed to Michigan Day. top 230 player, top 12 time tight end nationally, and Nebraska essentially hardly recruited him. So I don't think they're going to take a tight end in this class at this point. I mean, Isaac Jensen dropped Nebraska in spring, which wasn't a shock. I don't think there's much interest reciprocated there. Mm-hmm. So if I had to tell you where Nebraska goes at tight end, you're looking at a portal tight end come December or January.
Yeah. No, not a lot of luck this offseason in terms of tight end. I know we went after USC's, but UCLA, you mentioned UCLA. UCLA is one of those teams that had a tight end room that was kind of weak going into this year. Yep. I think they landed the Pitt transfer. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I think they landed him. Started with an R. Last name started with an R. That's all I remember. But and their tight end got drafted, I believe, this year, late or undrafted. Can't remember. So
I don't remember.
Not sure what's up with Michigan's tight end room going on there, but yeah, just a weird overall offseason. And considering what I talked about earlier, it just seemed like Nebraska was so, hard pressed on recruiting well the tight end position over the last couple of years. Just kind of a shock to see this kind of transpire the way it did.
It's a gigantic red flag for me.
Yeah.
Now Dana Holgerson's offenses at West Virginia and even at Houston, they didn't involve the tight end a lot, but there was like one or two times where he had like that one really damn good tight end.
Yep. And
he made sure to use him. I mean, you look back at like Oklahoma State days when, he had, I think he had Justin Blackman when he was there. They had a really good running back. I mean, but you don't look at his offenses in his history and look at, oh, yeah, that's a tight end offense. And maybe that's part of it. But then also we're being told that we're not running the air raid, but yet here we are. And there's 4 or 5 tight ends that Nebraska was recruiting. And I mean, as we're sitting here, what is it, May 20th? I don't think we're getting a single one. It's really concerning.
Yeah. And well, to me, the thing about modern college football too, and the way that his offense runs is, positions are just that at the end of the day. And I understand like the tight end position as a whole, like, of course, it's a whole different animal. But I feel like in this offense, it's not a matter of we're throwing to the tight ends or we're throwing to the receivers. I think it's going to be a matter of we're throwing to open targets. And so if you come into this offense, you're going to get opportunities if you get out there and give yourself opportunities to get open. And so, if it's kind of being looked at that way, I just don't think that's the way to look at it, because I just think it's going more and more so. And we've talked about this with the 49ers positionless style of offense, that it is kind of along those lines where you got guys like Carter Nelson who, can play at receiver, can run at tight end, and is going to get, his fair share of opportunities at both spots. So it's like one of those things. It's like they rotate the tight ends through other positions as well. So it's, that which made sense for the USC tight end that we were going after. I cannot remember his name. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But the young kid that
where he ended up.
No, it was the young kid we were going after. I did a video on him. It was back when we were barely starting in it early in the off season. This tight end wide receiver guy. But I can't. He caught I think he caught a touchdown against us. He had a pretty good game against us, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. So
it's kind of fun.
So yeah, if we look,
I don't know if I can.
Yeah, I think he was the guy who got that corner touchdown on us. Can't remember off the top of my head, but I think we're okay at the tight end position. I think it's just the concerning part of it is who we have at the tight end coaching position, and if that's causing an issue, or if there's some kind of issue elsewhere where maybe they're just kind of limiting the numbers incoming or what. But it doesn't appear that way, because we were still kind of in a recruiting battle for a couple of these guys.
Yeah. Here's our tight ends that are on the roster right now too. So, when I'm looking at this, so you got Luke Lindenmeyer, he's got 1 year after this year. And then you got talking realistic guys that are realistically going to be factors here after 2025 or 2026 season, because these guys are all 2026 recruits. So Luke Lindenmeyer, potentially Eric Ingwerson, maybe Carter Nelson, obviously, and then maybe Mac Markway. So you got 4 guys, and you have decent spacing. And what I mean by that is like between classes.
Yes.
So I still think Nebraska was going to take 1 to maybe 2 tight ends in this class, because I think there's probably going to be some attrition here. With the 105, even though they're going to likely phase it to the 105, you still need to have some attrition after this season regardless. So that's why I think they're going to take 1 or 2. But I mean, and these aren't bad options either too. Like Luke Lindenmeyer is a solid guy. Carter Nelson could be a potential freak for Nebraska. And the problem is we don't really know what we got with Mac Markway at all. We don't really know what we have with Eric Ingwerson. So you're hoping to land one of these high level tight ends where you can, have them come in and compete right away.
It kind of almost looks like the running back room. A lot of unproven guys, but you do have a guy in there who is probably gonna produce at a high level.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of adding, more competition, more faces, more bodies to that room, because that's only going to help us, and that's only going to increase the likelihood that we hit on one of these guys. And kind of you talked about a couple of those guys, really good. But I think it's just knowing that on a championship caliber team, which is where they're trying to get to, you need dudes all over the field. At each position, you need some dudes out there. And you look at how important, was it Ferguson for Oregon was to them this year? You know what I'm saying? Look at Ohio State the previous year, Stover. You get guys. Penn State's tight end. Oh my gosh, what am I drawing a blank on his name? Drawing a blank on everybody's name right now.
That's the big selling point that they have for with Luke Sorensen, is they're selling him on being this Tyler Warren style tight end.
Yep.
When I was breaking down the prospects that Nebraska's recruiting at tight end, I was I try not to think with rose-colored glasses too often, which is hard to do. But you have to put into consideration too, Tyler Warren came to Penn State as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Changed to a tight end and is a first-round draft pick. Nebraska had the number 1 tight end in his recruiting class, and he was a 7th-round draft pick.
Yeah.
The development and the consistency that Penn State, for example, is pushing out tight ends. Notre Dame, USC, even Florida, they push them out just left and right. And Nebraska, Thomas Fedoni is probably our best tight end in the last 15 years, for God's sakes. I mean, potential-wise, Austin Allen was pretty good, but we just don't develop.
Look at Brock Bowers, from Georgia the year prior. High-level tight end play has been a pretty common thing amongst some of these top teams, because that can make all the difference in the world.
It's a nice security blanket for a guy like Dylan Raiola or whoever the quarterback is for years to come, just to have that tight end that understands spacing and understands zone coverages and how to get open, when to sit in a zone or extend his route, past the zone coverage. And it just frustrates me that we've never seen really consistent tight end play in my entire lifetime in Nebraska. Not since Matt Harrigan.
Yeah. Not only that, it's understanding the blocking schemes, the zone blocking schemes, those type of things, understanding where you got to be, is a level of control that you got to play with as a tight end. That's more of a balanced play. So it's not you can plug and play anybody there at the position. It's got to be somebody with a knowledge of the position. So it will be really interesting to kind of see how that transpires, how that plays out. So
and with Heinrich, you're going to really see Satterfield earn his paycheck this year.
Mm-hmm.
You got Heinrich, who's never played the position, and you got Luke Lindenmeyer and Carter Nelson. So you got a kid coming from 8-man football who's played 1 year. You got a guy that's a former walk-on and a converted quarterback. That's as much as we think Carter can be and Heinrich can be. You don't have a lot to work with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you sell this to an elite tight end who's getting recruited by the schools that we just mentioned that are consistently pumping out tight ends? And yes, you have to sell them, like Trey Taylor said in our interview. You have to see the vision, but at some point too, there's a track record that Nebraska doesn't have that these other schools have, and it's concerning.
Agreed. Let me get into some of the comments here. Let's see. Speaking of Kansas City, likely going to the Nebraska game there, but has anyone heard of Sonesta Select Hotel? Have you ever heard of that?
No. Nope.
Okay. So
I have no idea what that is. I'm going to Google it, and I'll tell you if it's in a good area.
Yeah, they might be good, Mike. Stand by on that.
Sonesta
I think I'm echoing a little bit. Hold on.
Anything with a select is a little sketchy to me.
Yeah, 1 second. I might need you to back out.
I'll back out while I'm
Yeah,
looking.
back up, pop back in real quick. Mike, sorry to hear about your pupper. Mine are both 12. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, she was 13. She'd been with me for a long time. It was unexpected. Try to give her CPR, revive her. We had a vet appointment for 2:30 that day. She'd make it past 10:30. So it was rough. Me and the wife took the weekend off and took some time to grieve. But I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you, man. Just hug your dogs a little bit tighter tonight. Give them some extra hugs and kisses. 100 days till the kickoff of the 2025 Nebraska season. What's going on, Jackson? Appreciate you hopping in here. Did you find it?
Yes, they got a pretty good score over here on TripAdvisor.
Nice.
It's a fairly decent area of Kansas City. If I'm being honest, Kansas City is a disaster. I mean, it's one of the highest crime rates in the entire world.
I'd have to agree. Kansas City's a disaster just because their football team. I don't know about the city. The city itself, like I have no complaints with just Mahomes. All right. So I think a majority of these teams
area that it's in though.
It's all right. I think you think Mike will survive it?
Yeah, you'll be good for a night.
Yeah. Just make sure you check out the next morning.
Yeah.
It's not like so it won't end up like the hotel at California. You can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave. You don't want to end up like that.
He just posted a follow-up comment that it's in Overland Park. So you'll be totally good. Overland Park's fine.
Not overly worried about tight end. We have two for sure that could be dang good. You have Nelson Harburg. Yeah, just more so the future.
The future.
Yeah. And I think Bonner could play tight end as well. He could.
He's a utility guy.
Great H-back. Yeah, little do it all. That's nice for the present, but Nebro recruits the future. Exactly. So Satterfield's still getting $1.4 million. Yeah, as far as we know. Yep.
We signed the contract.
Got to be the highest paid tight end coach in the country. Is one of the highest paid OCs in the country.
Yeah. It's bad.
That should put in perspective there. Wonder how good Belichick will do as a coach of North Carolina. Don't think it's going to be very good.
I think it's going to be just a disaster.
It's already a disaster, I feel like.
Yeah, no kidding. It is a reality TV show at this point.
He's got his 20-year-old girl out there in her dress doing some kind of role for the team. I don't know what she does exactly, but
controlling interviews.
The whole thing is so weird. The fact that he's coaching, dating a 20-some-odd-year-old. Like I'm 35, almost 35, and I don't think I'd date somebody as young as him.
Yeah, probably gets along good with her grandpa, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like she's just waiting for that life insurance policy to kick in. Yeah, he won't be good. I agree, Justin. What's up, Caleb? Appreciate you hopping in here. Go Big Red. Plus, if we can hold blocks long enough to get yardage needed, that would be helpful with the tight end positions. Yeah. I do think our blocking is going to be much improved this year, especially on the perimeter. I think our perimeter blocking is going to be really, really good this year. Really, really good this year.
Yeah, it's way more of an emphasis with Holgerson as offense coordinator than it was with Satterfield, for sure.
Yeah. Let's get Nebraska to 7,000 subs. Jackson, appreciate you, man. We've been almost there for a while, and I've not been pushing for it. I need to get better at pushing for likes, comments, and subscribe. So like, comment, subscribe. It's there at the bottom. That's about as good as they can get. Track records are meant to be broken. This is the only year that counts. 100% Judy agree. Was it your shepherd that passed away? No, it was not. It was my little one. My little lady bear. She kind of kept to herself during the streams. The other two laid in here with me. Lady kind of has her own little area in the room that she normally laid in. So she passed away. 13-year-old Saint Bernard. Hey, it's pretty good life for a Saint Bernard. And big dogs usually don't last that long, man. Honestly, so probably got another couple years left. It's in Overland Park. Brian's fine. I agree. I would have to agree.
Thanks, babe.
I would have to agree with that. Where's Pit Snipe? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's I'm hoping he's going to pop in here and say something crazy before too long. Apparently, Bill engaged to Jordan now. Is Jordan his girl? I would imagine so. That's Michael. Are you guys hearing any more on the punter? My biggest concern is they never played a snap of college football.
They have a punter. He
Yep.
will be on campus in how many days are in May?
30.
I gotta do the old trick from elementary, January, February,
March,
1. 31. So he will
I don't
be
even
here.
remember how that goes. What is it? 30 days
Knuckle.
past
The
September.
higher knuckle is 31, then the middle of the knuckle is 30.
What is it?
That's
30 days past September, April, May, and November. Some crap. I don't know what the. I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know how it goes.
Our new punter will be here in just under 2 weeks. He's already enrolled. It's just not public because they don't want anyone to steal him.
Yeah.
But he's left and right-footed.
Ambidextrous punter.
Yeah.
That goes hard. That goes hard.
It's going to be fun to watch.
That goes hard. Have you seen that ambidextrous quarterback in high school?
That kid was originally from Nebraska, and then his dad moved him to Texas, and then he flamed out in Texas. They moved him to Florida, and he flamed out in Florida, and they moved back to Nebraska.
Oh, it was the same. It was that same kid because I'd seen one a couple years ago. I felt like so. This is the same kid. Okay, all right.
Yeah, he ended up not doing anything with like a big time college. I don't think he even signed anywhere.
I got you. I thought it was a different one because I'd not heard about that. So now, boys, maybe they're in love. We have a punter who hasn't released his name, be on campus June 1st. Exactly. My biggest concern is D-line. They don't have much depth, but they could possibly be dang good. Really don't know. That's a D-line and running back room. I feel like are very similar. I feel like the D-line has a little bit more in terms of experience and just like overall like talent, but I feel like talent not specific to the interior. So it's a weird. That's the weird dilemma. There is we have a ton of talent. It's hard to say that we're not confident in the D line room. It's the interior of the D line that concerns us.
Yeah, I think they're going to move guys around a lot. I mean, you'll have your traditional defensive tackle like Judy or Gabe Moore. But I think they're going to slide RVP all over like they did Ty. I think they're going to slide Williams-Nawarney all over, just like they did Ty. Because those guys are not only big, but they're incredibly athletic for how big they are. And that gives you some advantages where you could probably go with like, an RVP at defensive tackle, and then you have Williams-Nawarney on an edge, and then you maybe have, who's another guy like Jalen George or I'm missing somebody.
Did you say RVP already?
Yeah. Keona Davis, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah. But
even him, he's huge now.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he was already a big old kid for his age.
Plus, don't rule out Malcolm Simpson too. He's coming in, and I think he's coming into play.
Yeah, I
agree.
Same
thing with that kid from South Dakota. Just drew a blank on his name. Cade Pietzak.
Oh my gosh, what was it?
Cade Pietzak or Pietzak?
Pietzak.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's going to come in. I think he's going to play early too.
Yep. Mike, the major we have Is it supposed to be they? They have major programs down in Australia that train kids on American football. Yes, the Aussie style punting is the way to go, man. That's
Pro Kick Australia.
Dude, Tommy Townsend for the Texans is one of those, and he's changed our special teams. 30 days has September. Oh, see, so no wonder I couldn't get it right. I was like past September, but I was like, but then it's like, so every month past September. See, your boys, it didn't make sense because December obviously doesn't have 30 days. So. Thanks, Judy. I'm going to forget that, though. Anyway, what's going on? I appreciate you hopping in here, man. Just got here. You guys should have Coach Rule come on here every now and then, man. Coach Rule's busy. I would love it
for Troy Dan, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about getting as close to Rule as we can on the show. But we do got some good guests for y'all coming on. I do have some people who follow me within Matt Rule's hierarchy that I have not reached out to that I probably can and should maybe see if we can get lucky. So hit the like.
They follow and he follows me. I thought about shooting a DM.
Anthony Crispino follows me. There's a few of them. Harburg follows me. I need to reach out to Heinrich too. It'd be good to get him on the show. Guess what I'm saying is the D line is if we can't stop the run. Oh yeah, that's every year. If we can't stop the run, we're in trouble. But schematically, right? I think I think we have the perfect defensive coaching staff to kind of filter in some of that aggression while still kind of staying home. So I think we have the coaching on that side of the ball to be able to counteract, any imbalances that there may be. Let's say that we do have trouble stopping the run from the front, from the interior, of that front. I do think that we have the right staff and the brain power to be able to kind of manage that pretty effectively.
And I think,
go ahead.
Sorry, you can go. You can finish. Sorry.
No, it just had a second thought pop in my head. Because even with the aggression of the new kind of coaches that we have, the assistant coaches, our defensive backs coach, he's kind of that downhill style with his DBs. And what we saw from Butler in that bowl game, I just think we're going to do a lot of things that are going to really be able to kind of make up for anything that's lacking in that region.
Yeah, and I think you've increased your athleticism on the first and second level. I think your D-line is more athletic. That's not a knock on Nash and not a knock on Ty, who is actually very athletic. But I like your athleticism on the line, and I think your linebacker core is substantially more athletic.
Yes.
And that will make a bigger difference, where the deficiencies you may have interior up front with your D tackles, you will make up for with a guy like Marquise Watson-Trent, with a guy like Vincent Shavers, Willis McGay, etc. Like the athleticism in that linebacker room is insane. And on top of that, the difference between a guy like Coach Dvorak and former Coach Knighton was one of those was born on third base. One of those had nothing. And he turned Mekhi Bayer into a really good linebacker. He converted a safety in John Bullock to a very good middle linebacker, considering his limitations. He made that linebacker room the strength of the defense through his coaching. Whereas, Coach Knighton had Nash, he had Ty, he had Jamari Butler. He had a lot of guys that were already proven. So that's why I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. Let's see here. I bet we have more going for us this year than people expect, without a doubt. A lot of the problem with what people are, and we'll get into the Vegas over/under win total here in a second too. A lot of the problem with what I think the outside world doesn't understand about Nebraska, and we talked about this a little bit, is just kind of first off, last season and trying to compare it to this season. I don't think people understand just how big the offensive coordinator mattered last season for the most part of it. And so we see all these improvements. And on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to ask you this and ask, everybody in the chat this. With our defense the way it's set last year, we get more athletic, kind of like you mentioned. Would you happily trade off the changes that we had in this defense? So let's say, not having Gifford, as our single high safety, with sacrificing that strong D line that we had, and not saying it's not going to be strong, but it was like a top 5 projected unit. Do you feel more comfortable and balanced about this defense? Because personally, I do, because to me, we can counteract that defensive line issue with scheme much more than we can counteract bad safeties and bad safety play.
Yeah, I 100% would. You look back to the games just throughout last year, and it was never really an issue with the defensive line. Like, games were getting blown on the defensive side of the ball on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 12s. And it was because you'd sit back in a big zone, play everything in front of you. You play 10 yards off the line of scrimmage with your corners and your safeties or whatever, or you're getting beat deep. Like, there's so many issues in that secondary last year, which it's kind of funny that we're more confident going into next season with the secondary, despite the issues. But I think a lot of that was the differences between what Butler did and what Tony White was doing. I'm way more confident though, because there's so much experience back there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's going to be a good trade-off, because that explosiveness that we were potentially giving up, and when it came to the running game, like, there were instances where we could not stop the run. But the reason those instances typically happened were because of the lapses in the coverage that allowed, that made our defensive ends and our defensive line, they weren't able to pin their ears back and really kind of go after the quarterback. They kind of had to be on their heels a little bit, expecting, potentially having to get back into place for a pass, or like, Indiana, for instance. Again, I talked about this the night before the Indiana game, said the problem is we got to stop the run. And they came out and ran the ball on us immediately, and that put Nebraska on their heels. And so you can't pin your ears back and do what you need to do, because to stop a guy like Curtis Rourke, you needed to really get after him, get some pressure on him. And so I think that'll help our D-line eat a little bit more this year and be able to kind of pin their ears back and get after it a little bit more.
Yeah. And on top of that, too, you already mentioned it, but just to kind of reiterate it, the difference between Tony White and John Butler as a defensive coordinator is going to be huge. Pressure. John Butler is not afraid to send 6 guys, 7 guys, and leave his corners on an island. They've stressed that a ton. We've heard him talk about it, that they excel in man coverage, which to me is kind of like a indicator that they're confident bringing 7.
Yep.
And they're going to let their corners be physical, press man coverage.
Yep.
That stuff Tony White never did. In fact, I think it was like through the first 5 games of the year, Nebraska's pressure rate in terms of how many times they were blitzing was like less than 10%.
It was low. It was very low.
And that was against a crap team, so you're probably keeping it pretty simplistic.
Outside
of Colorado.
It wasn't like the first 4 weeks, even the Colorado game, wasn't it still 0%?
It might have been, because Colorado's offensive line was just total dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Ty Robinson was beating 2 guys left and right.
Or at least up until that Colorado game, I think the blitz percentage was at 0.
Yeah. It was and it was true like that most of the year too. I mean, outside of I think the Ohio State game, they just never brought pressure from anywhere. I mean, they did a little bit here and there, like Sierra Wright on that corner blitz against Illinois, but it was very rare that they brought tons of pressure. And I the way I look at it is I'd rather speed up a quarterback's timing than let him sit back and just pick apart your defense. I would rather take that risk every single time and just trust my players to go make a play and just than having 6-7 seconds back there. Because that happened literally at times.
Because you think about it. I mean, if you think about a quarterback operating when bringing the house versus a quarterback operating when having to move the pocket and maybe mess up some contains or somebody get through, how many times have we been burned by a quarterback being able to buy some extra seconds from just having, bringing 4, one of those getting home and then just being able to step around it or put a stiff arm in him and get around him and buy that extra time. You just want to get after him and make sure, like you said, disrupt his time and get him off his rhythm and make sure he's not seeing those routes. So you guys see the baby version of Rule giving his pre-Colorado speech. I don't think I did. I
haven't really been on social media much.
No, me dealing with the dog situation. It was I was off social media a lot. So I hope the staff is. I'll look for that though, Kayla. Appreciate you letting me know. I hope the staff is keeping a lot of information more in house. There are a lot of guys killing at practice. I think they are. I think it's by design. I think we had some stuff happen this offseason where information got to some people and got out. And I think everything Rule tightened up the ship a lot in that. He kept a tight ship as it was, though. This is how the Texans general manager is. Nick Caserio. He was with the Patriots before he came over. I think he was assistant GM over there. Came over to Houston. He's the one who kind of turned Houston around in a positive way. But that man, I've never seen an NFL GM keep anything as tight to the vest as he does. Nothing gets out of his circle. And I feel like that's what helps make him successful. And I don't fault Rule for that at all, especially like with how much stuff has gotten out and that he's had to kind of speak to. And he doesn't want to spend his time on that stuff. He doesn't want to sit here and have to talk about drama and this, that, and the third. Like he wants to worry about football, recruiting, what he's paid to do. And so, I think we will hear indications of who's doing well, but at least we know it's going to be the people who are actually doing well. He is not going to blow smoke up our ass. Rule's wife will do. Yeah, we'll have Mrs. Rule on the show, and she can speak. We can use her as kind of a medium to speak through him. Love Heinrich Haarberg. Every player should be so loyal. Yeah, I agree. Heinrich is a dude, man, that I'll always be a fan probably good guess in August. Thoughts on us recruiting in Sweden? I love it.
That was That's for Valdon Sohn. They're
But
visiting his family.
I love recruiting in Sweden. How like honestly, the European recruiting is picking up a lot
They just
because
offered a big kid from Germany.
they have they actually have like a kind of I forget what it's called, but they have like a recruiting site for the international players. And I'm trying to remember who
Isn't the same people that did Hufkins recruitment?
Probably. Yeah.
I can't remember what the company's name was.
Because the guy, there was a guy that Texas is recruiting. Oh wait, it's the same one. I think it's Valdon Stone.
Yeah, they sent Terry Braden to Sweden to visit Valdon Sohn.
Yeah,
and then they sent BJ Barthel at the same time to visit him because
Texas offered him too.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle for the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a big old boy though, 6'3", like over 300 pounds.
Freak athlete.
He's a big, he is a freak athlete, a big dude. A lot of schools that are in his recruitment though, because I saw Texas joined it. Nebraska, of course, is in it. Georgia, I believe, was in it, and there were a couple more SEC schools.
Florida's the big one right now.
I think for those that don't know, Valdon Stone's a D lineman in the 2026 class from Sweden. So that's who we're talking about. So it's going to be tough.
He played last year, his first year of organized American football at some school in South Carolina, I believe, somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah. I want to find like some legitimate like recruiting service for these guys. I think there is one, but I gotta remember what it's called. So I could kind of dive into those a little bit more. But there's an international recruiting. It's some kind of acronym, RPI or something like that. 1-0 Spartans in the fist. Spartan in the first. I know what you meant. Comes down to adversity and the mental part of our games. So yeah, exactly. The mental part of it. But I think the mental side of it is kind of what we've been clearing over these last few months. I honestly think getting some of the older guys out of there, I think the mental side is kind of, even if you hear the way like a guy like Ty Robinson talked about last year, I think that mental side of things is kind of cleared. I think these athletes now understand that this is a whole different animal, but that came from changing the culture. And I think now that the culture is different, that's where the mentality is going to move on. I think the part of the problem was that culture was still in there. The conversation was still in there. That talk was still in there. I guarantee you these guys don't talk about one-score losses behind the scenes anymore. I guarantee you
there's no way.
They keep all that
out of there. Weren't here at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, Coach Will has to instill this mindset of like, who cares what happened years prior?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, some of you were a part of it. We need to figure out how to win now and just forget everything that happened in the past.
1-0 every single week.
Yep.
That's the way to do it. 1-0 every single week. That's all there is to it. I think his defense is going to be better all around this year from line to DBs. I do too. I think the overall product is going to be a lot better. And I think it comes a lot to do with coaching. Not talent, of course, but I think coaching on top of the talent is going to have this defense turn a corner, because the problem was last year was inconsistencies, but it was not just inconsistencies like in terms of up and down play throughout the game. It was, there would be a weak Indiana, here and there, where the defense would just look like they had no idea how to play defense anymore. And it looked like we were like a little league team playing against a major league team. And the reactiveness of the coaching as opposed to the proactiveness of the game plan, there was no adjustments at halftime defensively. It was one of those things. It was just like that Indiana game. You couldn't stop the bleeding. It was just done, and the Ohio State game, all of a sudden we come out and we do some things that we probably should have done against Indiana, 4 down linemen, 4 hands in the dirt, different fronts, went a little bit more bare, went some more bare fronts in that game, and we were able to stop their run, and didn't do that at any point in the Indiana game. It's like they watched the film and then they went and made the adjustment for the Ohio State game. Whereas when you have a guy like Butler who's been in the NFL and had to make high-level adjustments throughout the game, quarter by quarter, half by half, that game management is going to be so crucial in this as well.
Hell, we saw with the Illinois game, that first half they played lights out, and the second half they couldn't stop anything. And they kept killing us on that same play over and over, and there was zero adjustments. And that was, like you said, it was frustrating that it was all reactive. It was never proactive.
And we could see what Illinois was doing in that first half. Illinois was just continuously trying to establish their run game, and they did not deviate from what they were going to do. No matter what or how well our defense did against them in that game, they came out every single drive and they played the exact same game plan, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they wanted to just hit us with body shots, like just get that run game going. And they had that big running back. Oh my God, that I wanted Nebraska to go after. Caden Proctor.
They were everything Nebraska said they wanted to be.
Yeah,
body shots.
Exactly. I'm sorry, my dog.
Rule always said.
Yeah, and they did that, and then over the course of time, like that opened up. They ran that H back across, and that H back would go out for routes, and like that opened up, and that was getting our defense out of position, our linebackers and everything out of position. So in the second half, when our linebackers were on their heels in that passing game, they would run that play action or run that H back across, and we were on our heels. So then those runs started to break 9-10 yards, and they started to kind of invest in that run game, and then to kind of wore Nebraska
game.
Little things like that over the course of the game that we forget about, and people forget about, like that could have changed the whole trajectory of the game. A little bit of coaching on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit of adjustments would have won us that game. So speed at linebackers, what should able the D to keep a guy like Underwood from scrambling for big games and running wild. Fingers crossed. Agree.
Yeah. Assuming he wins the starting job.
Yeah, which he, for all intents and purposes, he should. He should, but we'll see. Astros are up 1-0 right now. Jake Myers has been unbelievable this year. Jake from Rake Farm, man. Call him up on the phone.
Husker.
He's been hitting the ball crazy. I mean, his glove has always been amazing. Dude has always been.
He just had Bryce Matthews hit for the cycle, and was triple or double A a couple days ago.
I think it was triple A. I just kind of assumed, though. I didn't really check. But yeah, Jake Myers has been unbelievable this year. Don't know what's gotten into him, but rest of the Astros, Isaac Paredes is kind of getting going, but at least we're able to take two from the old Arlington Rangers. I think schematics to players on offense and defense will be so much better. Agree.
Oh, yeah.
Agree. Yes, I would, because I think the DB improvement will outweigh the fall off of the D line. Yep. I'm more concerned about the safety position on defense than any other group. Thoughts? I think it's
less new safety.
I think my concern with the defensive back room is just health. Making sure that they can stay healthy and everybody can stay in the position that they're supposed to play.
Yeah. I like Marquise Buford moving back to safety. I like Malcolm moving back to safety. I like Deshaun in that rover spot because he'll play more closer to the line of scrimmage than truly at safety. So
I feel better about safety this year than I did last year.
Yeah, I think the athleticism is better. I think the talent is better. I think your experience is better, which is weird, but like we had our starting two safeties were playing corner last year.
Yeah,
because the corner room was so depleted and so inexperienced, you had no other options.
Last year, I think it was the defensive line, like the fact that the defensive line was going to take pressure off of the secondary, that gave me so much confidence in the defense as a whole, including the secondary. This year, I actually have some confidence in our secondary. That's the difference for me. So, Pitt Snipe, what's up, man? Hey, I was away from the keyboard getting my coffee yum lined out. So sorry to hear about your little lady, Justin. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Pitt Snipe. It's been a rough go. Yeah, it's funny. Lady, I adopted her after I got out of the military. I did a calendar photo shoot for a dog rescue organization. The calendar was called Muscles and Mutts, and I adopted her from them. So she's been here for a while, but I appreciate that. Pitt Snipe, thank you. And everybody else who offered your support and condolences. Appreciate y'all, man. Ty was schooling his boys up. Defense is going to be top 20 for sure. I would not be surprised if defense is top 20.
Yeah, we just need that offense.
Yeah. Yep. I heard y'all Judy hollered back. You were dissatisfied with the notorious Bill O'Brien. Don't bring that up. That Boston College win was so much more satisfying for me because we got to beat up on that butt chin loser. Oh, I can't. He ruined us. That guy ruined us. I can't believe we were like, yeah, you're a terrible coach. So one more season, but we're also going to give you GM duties.
And then you're going to trade our best player.
Well, getting rid of Deshaun was the best thing. That I wanted Deshaun out of there as soon as all that stuff happened. So
I was talking about Hopkins.
Oh, D-Hop. Oh, yeah. Oh, bro.
Then Arian Foster too, right?
Arian Foster retired. He retired early.
They traded a running back with D-Hop to Arizona for like pennies on the dollar.
No, we traded. Here's what happened. And I remember this vividly because I just flew into Texas. I just got into my mom's house, just flew into Texas from out here. And then the dude got traded out here. Funny. I flew from Arizona to Texas, and then D-Hop got traded from Texas. But at first, the first thing I saw was that I loved David Johnson at that time, even though like he had that great season, right? But then he had a couple of But like I loved David Johnson mainly because I was partial to him because I had him in fantasy football the year he went crazy, and so I was like, you know what, we're getting David Johnson, let's go. And then I see the report so I shared that and I was like, let's go. And then I see the report that it was DeAndre Hopkins was in the trade, and immediately my excitement went away. It was gone, and I was confused to put it. Like I wasn't even mad. I was confused.
So was 365 million Americans.
I was genuinely just lost. I'm like, what? Yeah. There's got to be more to this somewhere, and there wasn't. That was it. So yeah, screw him. I have a Swedish car, twin turbos, and a supercharger. Go Sweden. I don't. I have a Honda CRV. So, and Jeep XJ.
Swedish.
Are you?
Swedish and Irish mostly, and Danish.
I'm Irish and Swedish and Scandinavian.
We're ancestors, probably.
Yeah, I'm like 46% Irish and like 22% Scandinavian. So big Swedes and Australian punters. Huskers are multinational.
Yeah,
I mean it's like the NBA. You look at all these Europeans taking over the NBA, bro. Like. College football is soon to follow.
Yep.
I can't be the only guy picturing Swede from Heartbreak Ridge. PPI recruits. Appreciate that. That's the international one. PPI recruits. I need to make sure I keep note of that. I was thinking RPI. That's a college basketball ranking. Do you think there's going to be more four-man front play from the defense? Yes. 100%.
Whether or not it's four hands in the dirt or if it's three in the dirt and one standing up, it'll be four.
There's going to be four. There's going to be a lot different fronts, a lot more different fronts this year than there was last year. 100%. Reserving judgment tells you it's not going to be a 3-3-5. It's going to be.
I look at it like a 4-2-5 more so.
It's kind of like a hybrid. Yeah. 4-3. Like it's going to be more of a 4-2-5. Overall, there are going to be 3-3-5 elements of it, but it's a multiplicity defense. Yeah. So it's not going to always match one specific criteria. A base may be a base, but we're going to be in so many different looks outside of that base that I don't even think you can put it into one. But I do think we're going to see a lot more four guys in the front than we saw with Tony White. Because you got to remember the 3-3-5 isn't something that Butler was even familiar with. It's not something they run in the NFL. It's fairly newer in terms of overall defenses because it's just to keep up with the more faster paced spread offenses. So women's softball super regional against Tennessee. Go Big Red.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Conference softball over on Corn Nation later. Yeah, go check out on Corn Nation. Great stuff Minnie's doing over there, and they're doing on that channel as well. So been on there a couple times. We all have conference talent at both linebacker and cornerback. I'm just not sure how good we will be at getting to the quarterback if they go max protect. If we're making a max protect, that means we're doing something good.
Yeah. And then you only have three people to throw the ball to.
Then we're taking them out of what they want to do offensively. So that's fine by me. My mom was a catcher at the U till I happened. A two-door Tahoe. It's a gas guzzler. Yeah, I just got a Honda CRV hybrid. First car note I ever paid. Early, my newest car outside of that was I had a '09. And then, but I basically had my '04 F-150 from when I was 17 up until like 3 years ago. And then I just pay cash for cheap cars. Gotta love it. Cheapest parts on the planet. All right. Let's go ahead and just dive into a couple more things here. The over-under win total came out for Nebraska. 7.5 is the over-under win total. How are you feeling about that? I think that was right where we put it.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's I'm curious. I haven't watched it, but I'm curious where the money is currently that's coming in for it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot on the over, despite Nebraska's failure to hit the win total set by Vegas 8 years in a row.
Yes, I believe it was probably the over. I would imagine, because I think a lot of people who are betting on Nebraska are betting when it comes to Nebraska are having a favorable opinion of them, because I feel like Nebraska is so much of a wild card to even bet on the win total or under. You have to be a little crazy, but
yeah, they have such a favorable schedule too. I mean, Cincinnati's basically home game. Houston Christian sucks. Akron sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You have a road game against Michigan State. They're okay. You don't really have a tough road game until October 18th at Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Northwestern on the road.
I was even curious. I looked at I was looking at other predictions just to see what other, places were saying about Nebraska's potential over under or win loss record or whatever. And I found this article from Badgers Wire, and they had Nebraska projected at 8-4, which I think is pretty fair. 8-4, 5-4 in the Big Ten, and our wins were Cincinnati, Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, Northwestern, Iowa. Losses were Minnesota, UCLA, USC, and Penn State.
Beating Iowa.
Only losses are to Minnesota, UCLA, USC, and Penn State.
I think Minnesota's always tough, but I think this is the year we get them. I don't think they have a lot of quarterback. I mean, their receivers are pretty average at best. I read something like Malachi Coleman. They described him, head coach PJ Fleck described him as a future project, which is a little concerning.
That is very concerning.
Northwestern's always crap, but for some reason they always play us tough. That's actually a home game.
It was scrappy last year too, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I like, my note is 8 wins at minimum to sell some type of progress.
Yeah, I agree. I think 7 wins is a disaster.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 8 wins is right along that threshold of that's where the start of us being happy would be. So I like the CRV. I do too. It's a comfortable ride. I don't need anything crazy fat. I just need something that's comfortable to drive, gets me from point A to point B reliably. And that seemed to be the most reliable midsize 25 SUV. So let's see. Unfortunately, all those parts break all the time. I don't know which one. Pit Snipe ruined his mom's career. Surprise. No surprise there. All right. So I had a question that I was going to ask you, and I'm going to ask this to the chat as well. So On 3 predicted 4 Big Ten teams to make the playoff. Okay. And I asked you before the show, I didn't tell you the answers, but I told you to stick with those. We'll just pick your 4. I think you had 5. So give me the 4 teams that you think they predicted to be in the college football playoff from the Big Ten.
Okay. You can lock in Ohio State and Penn State. And then I'm going with Indiana and Michigan.
So Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, Michigan.
Yep.
So see if we get any give y'all a second in the chat. Put your 4 teams in there. Give y'all about 5 more seconds.
I was back and forth with USC, but I think On 3 has it on for Michigan. Oh my God, I totally forgot fucking Oregon. So stop out Michigan and put in Oregon.
I think
there's so many teams I forget now.
I think Mr. Caleb might have seen the article. It's Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Illinois. Interesting.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it is
starters.
I think it is too, and they have a really good quarterback. I think people really, really underestimate how good he is. Luke Altmaier.
Yeah. Illinois, when they hired Burt Bielema, that was who I wanted Nebraska to hire. Back when they fired Mike Riley. I wanted Bielema, and he's not the sexy pick. He's not a guy that's going to be, all in the media, but the dude knows how to win in the Big Ten, and that's all I care about. It's all any of us should care about.
And he knows that coach, and I love his personality. What was that? Who was that? Illinois, and we were trolling him on the field.
Yeah, that was against South Carolina.
Was that the bowl game? Oh yeah, that was where he was trolling him. That was fantastic.
Yeah, he's a hell of a coach.
Give me all of that.
I love me some Burt.
Have
you seen that picture of him with big old?
Brett.
I know the joke is Burt.
I know. I'm like, God, y'all stop calling him Burt.
Have you seen that video or picture of him with his big old beer gut and he's got no shirt on?
No, I've not. I probably don't want to. I probably don't want to see it.
It's freaking awesome.
7.5 is low. I don't think it's my homer bias. You got to understand, over under win totals tend to be pretty conservative especially because Nebraska has kind of finished the under the last 3 years. So, but which always ends up putting you in a good position to make some money off the over.
Yep.
Grew up a local softball field in the 80s though, so it wasn't half bad. I did the transmission 3,000 miles ago. Say older transmissions way. That's why I'm glad I have. That's why I always had older cars easier to work on. But I have a 1996 Jeep XJ, and that's my toy to work on. That's just my off-road vehicle. So can't beat the old school inline sixes before they did emissions tests. Those engines were bulletproof. One of those California teams. I'm kind of tired of all these sports being judged based on betting. I'm not a teetotaler. Oh, teetotaler. Betting is not football fandom. No, it adds an extra element of fun and excitement to certain games if you're not interested in. I went to a hockey game once, and I'm not a big hockey guy. Well, I would love to, but Houston doesn't have a team, and Nebraska doesn't have a team. But I bet on the game, and it made it exciting for me to be there. So if you told me we beat Minnesota and Iowa, I think this would be a 10-win team. I would have to say
Minnesota. I would say you're looking at 9-10 wins, because I think
if we beat Minnesota and split the California teams,
which is actually reasonable.
Yes, 100%. Hit or miss. Got a 99 Ranger. It needs $2,500 transmission. The 95 Silverados ain't much less. It's all about volume. Your Tahoe's $1 million. Yeah, that's about what in my 04 F-150 I had to replace. All I had to ever do in that was place a trans. It was like $2,000 bucks. I see the article. Illinois and Altmaier are all they're talking about. Yeah, I didn't read the article. I just kind of clicked on there and saw Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Illinois. Yep, throw in with Brian. I like Burt too. Burt has a flow to it. He said again, Brian, sexy. He's not. Pitt 2,400. Oh, talking about that's what you get for getting a Silverado. Having a training club. The adult. All right. See, why did I say that word? All right. Well, now I got banned on Facebook a couple years ago for saying that word in a different context. And I got put in 30 days Facebook jail. My buddy was like, "What got you put in Facebook jail?" And I said it in quotes, and I got put in Facebook jail again.
Jeez.
Because I said in quotes. So YouTube's gonna ban me. Every game is a potential to be a game, one that can be won or lost. I don't think Nebraska is being respected. That can be an advantage.
100% agree.
There's
a lot of toss-ups.
I think Big Ten coaches are smart enough to know to respect Nebraska.
There's a lot of respect from that rule.
Yeah. The outside world, on the other hand, I don't think those people really respect what Nebraska can be this year. So,
yeah.
Sorry I mentioned cars. You're good, man. It's okay. We could talk cars. We used to have a hockey team. I dated one of the players. It was the Knights. Houston used to have the Arrows.
No, it's Lincoln Stars is what they have now.
Yeah, Houston used to have the Arrows, and I'm definitely not going to be a fan of Dallas anything. So, all right, cool. So my dogs are going crazy at the door. All right, so that'll about do it for what we had to talk about here. Again, just kind of one of those shows where we're kind of easing back into it. You know, had this weekend off this last week, dealing with my dog, so I was kind of out of the loop. So we're gonna and just kind of a slow week in general. So we're gonna kind of get back into everything. We have our Thursday call-in show this week. Thank you to Brian for holding that down this past Thursday. But I'll be back this Thursday. I'm gonna see if maybe we could potentially get y'all a guest to have on for that show as well. So to see what I can do about that. So y'all can tune in here and see us there. We're also going to be bringing y'all a lot more content in terms of the off season and stuff like that and videos. Again, my hands have been full with the dog over the last month and a half, vet appointments and kind of having to wait on her hand and foot and, you know, so been really busy with that stuff, but we kind of crank it up a little bit of a notch here. So, and again, thank you everybody for offering your words of support, condolences, for Lady and me, my wife, you know, helped us out a lot, cried it out over the weekend, got a lot of grieving done. So just thank you to everybody for understanding. Got a great community here, a great co-host here. So thanks again. And Brian, anything else before we wrap up and head out?
Tune into the Husker Gutter Call-in show. Make sure you call in with whatever you want to talk about, because we don't care what it is.
Y'all want to talk transmissions? We could talk transmissions. All right. I got my Haynes car manual right over there. I'll bring that baby out. So, but all right. That being said, again, 6 o'clock Thursday, Husker Gutter Live call-in show. We will be there and have some content coming for y'all this week. So y'all stay tuned for everything. Subscribe, turn the notification bell on, like the stream if you haven't yet. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about all of our videos coming up. And with that being said, we will see you on the next video. Peace.